Okay, so we're waiting. We're waiting on these guys here, all highlighted in red. Mikko Rantanen, Braden Point, Patrick Laine, Kyle Connor, Brock Besser, Matt Tkachuk, and Travis Konechny are among the guys. Brendan Carlo as well. Carlo can't be out for much longer, and honestly, I debated whether or not to put Konechny on the board because I don't think he's going to be out for much longer either. So I wanted to look at the current situation with restricted free agents and what has been signed. And there's an interesting trend that I think is different. Where the shorter term, it's a lower cap hit. So what we've always said is, and this has usually been the case, is, hey, if you want to keep these guys, if you want to, if the players want this kind of stability, they'll take a little bit less of a cap hit over a longer term. That seems to have gone out the window. Now it's teams are buying unrestricted free agent seasons. So players are going, hey, if I'm going to give up being an unrestricted free agent when I have the right to be, you're paying me for it. And Trouba's an example of that with the Rangers. 7 years, $8 million annual value, and $22 million in bonuses. So I went with salary bonuses according to Cap Friendly. $22 million to Jacob Trouba. And the bonuses really show you the haves and the have-nots when it comes to who has a lot of money. Mitch Marner up here, the number 7. He's the number 7 overall in the National Hockey League currently in terms of cap hit. We'll see if any of these guys knock him down. And there's the potential that Rantanen or Point could. It's unlikely, but they could. Now, Marner, 6 years, $10.9 million annual average value. Now, if he'd signed a 3-year deal, odds are he may have signed it for a lower cap hit. But he takes the longer term and the higher cap hit. And $60.958 million in bonus money. Bonus money's paid up front on July 1st. And from what I understand, escrow, there is no escrow with the bonus money. So Marner gets paid. And it is a big difference between what he gets paid and others, because escrow seems to keep going up. Now, they're likely going to fix the escrow problem for the most part over the next couple of years. That's why the salary cap is not going to go up by very much. So it can diminish the amount of money that the owners have to hold back because the cap has been outpacing the actual numbers in the league. Clayton Keller, there's a little pink asterisk here because he signed next summer. So he is still in his entry-level contract. The contract he signed kicks in next summer. 8 years, an average annual value of $7.15 million, and $10 million in bonus money. Now, what I find strange with this is that Keller gets $7.15 million over 8 years, and people go, yeah, that's pretty good. Marner makes an extra $3.7 million, and everybody's losing their minds and saying the Leafs don't know what they're doing. And yet, if you look at the overall numbers, Clayton Keller's coming off of kind of a rough season. Yes, I do believe he's going to bounce back, but there's a lot of risk in that contract. Now, where Arizona is being smart, they're signing it a year out. They're guaranteeing that Clayton Keller should be a member of the Coyotes for the next 9 years, minus some kind of a situation down the road where he wants a trade or they want to trade him. But Keller is in pretty good shape. But again, I wouldn't say that Keller took below market value. He didn't give Arizona a big discount in comparison with what Marner gets in Toronto. Charlie McAvoy signs this morning, $3.5 million in bonus money to him over the first 2 years. 3-year contract, $4.9 million average annual value. He's a restricted free agent at the end of those 3 years. So, in order to get him to take this contract and say, all right, I'll give you a little bit less of a cap hit, the last year of that contract, he makes $7.3 million. That means that at the end of this contract, Boston has to qualify him at $7.3 million average annual value. He is going to get paid, not this contract as much as the next contract. So some of these guys who are restricted free agents at the end of their contracts are looking forward to the next contract. So a team has a choice. They can either sign them long-term for the big cap hit in the next contract or walk them to free agency. Give them a 1-year deal, and then they're unrestricted free agent the year after. There's a lot of things that come with these shorter-term contracts that we as fans right now, we just look at the cap hit and we go, wow, $6 million less for McAvoy than Marner. Yeah, because Marner took the extra 3 years. If Marner had signed for 3 instead of for 6, Marner would have taken less money, But the odds of Marner ending up potentially leaving Toronto sooner, I think goes up. And I know Toronto fans, there's a lot of them right now like, we want him out anyways. He's so greedy. I get it, and this board doesn't really argue against that. It doesn't make a good argument either that Marner didn't maximize his return already, or that Kyle Dubas is hard-nosed when it comes to these negotiations. I have said the whole time with Kyle Dubas, the one thing that makes me nervous with him is he seems to be really good friends with the players, and I think that when you're a general manager, you have to have that separation, and I don't know that he's really mastered that separation when it comes to these situations. But we'll see. You know, I mean, if they win, if they end up, having a whole bunch of wins this year and they win in the playoffs, even if they go to, say, round 3 and fall out, I think that would show enough progression that I think fans would let him off the hook a bit. Ivan Provorov, 6 years at $6.75 million. And again, Provorov is coming off of what was a spotty year for the Philadelphia Flyers. There were a lot of people concerned with his play. He gets $12 million in bonus money over the life of that contract. So again, they're buying up unrestricted free agent years. That's why his cap hit is so much higher than Charlie McAvoy's. They get him for 6 years. Charlie Mack signed for 3. McAvoy will make $7.3 million at a minimum in year 4. Provorov is at a $6.75 million annual value. So again, it's a long game that managers are playing now. Sebastian Aho is number 26 in the NHL when it comes to cap hit currently. That will likely drop once a couple of these guys have signed. 5 years at an average annual value of $8.454 million. And yes, this is the contract Bergevin signed. And Bergevin used bonus money to try to scare Carolina off. Bonus money totaling $38.62 million. And a lot of that is paid when they matched and next July 1st. So it's a lot of money over a very short period of time, with the idea that they were trying to steal Aho away from the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, that 5-year deal also makes him an unrestricted free agent in 5 years. And there's already all this salivating over where he might go and what might happen. But honestly, 5 years is a nice long contract. Josh Morrissey, who is, pink asterisk, he's a restricted free agent next summer, or would have been, but he signs an 8-year contract. Average annual value of $6.25 million. And what's interesting is, if you look at it on Cap Friendly, there's no bonus money involved. And again, this is where the rich and the poor teams kind of show up, where the Jets. And the Jets have good attendance, good sales, good merchandise, all of that wonderful stuff. But they're not in the financial stratosphere of a New York Rangers or Toronto Maple Leafs. So they're not going to be paying out the bonus money that Toronto or the New York Rangers can pay out. Timo Meier in San Jose, $8.6 million in bonus money to him. 4-year contract, annual value of $6 million. And everybody went, this is great. And it is. That 4th year of that contract, he makes $10 million, which means after that, he's a restricted free agent, but they have to qualify him at $10 million a year. So again, and this is where the debate gets really interesting. Do you want to see a general manager making those longer contracts that could potentially leave your team cap-strapped currently, but with a better idea of the future, so 4 or 5 years down the road, you're still good? Or do you want to see them signing these short-term contracts, which could bite them 3 or 4 years down the road, depending on when they expire, and they have to qualify these guys at a lot of money, where it could cost them later? Is it a smarter business decision? And we will find out once these contracts start playing themselves out. Is it a smarter financial decision to sign that shorter term contract or the longer term? And again, it used to be you signed a longer term contract to get your cap hit down. Famously, that's what guys like Hossa and Luongo did. But keep in mind, those guys were veterans at the time. They weren't restricted free agents. With restricted free agents, the price seems to go up if you want them to forego going to unrestricted free agency. Austin Matthews is right underneath Pavel Zacha, so I almost went to Matthews and skipped Zacha, and I apologize. Zacha, 3 years at $2.25 million. He's a restricted free agent at the end of that. His money doesn't change, so they only have to qualify him at that same amount of money. Zacha hasn't shown the offense yet, so it makes total sense that the New Jersey Devils get him at that good deal. Austin Matthews is number 3 in the NHL in cap hit. And this is why when I see people saying, well, unrestricted free agents make more money. No, they don't. Not anymore. And whether we can look at this and say Toronto's changing the game, or this crop of free agents is changing the game, it's one or the other, or both. And for me, I kind of feel like there's a little bit of both. Although, again, Matthews gets a very generous contract. 5 years at $11.634 million. He is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this. That's why everybody loses their mind. I don't think that means he's leaving, but it does mean he's going to be even more expensive next time around. $54.25 million in bonuses, meaning between Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, they will make $114 million in bonuses. That is a lot of money. Now, Toronto can afford to pay it. The Rangers can afford to pay it. I would argue Philadelphia, Boston, probably Detroit. There are some teams that could afford to pay that kind of money. But for teams at the other end of the spectrum, they just can't. They just don't have that kind of cash flow. So it is something that Toronto does. But here's the one thing that's kind of weird with it. So they give up that bonus money, which is guaranteed money, and it's a really high cap hit. Number 3 for Matthews, number 7 for Marner. And in between is an unrestricted free agent named John Tavares, who also got pretty decent bonus money and a really high cap hit. Honestly, when you look at it, I understand that Austin Matthews is one of the best players in the league, and I'm not debating that at all. But I do look at this contract, and there's a conversation that's started up now about whether or not players are being compensated like this before they've actually accomplished anything in the playoffs. And there is something to be said for that. Zach Werenski, no bonus money for Zach Werenski, no bonus money for Colin White. So that's a big difference too. So Columbus and Ottawa are definitely in the teams that have less money out of the NHL's overall. If you look at the overall evaluations of franchises, Columbus and Ottawa aren't going to be at the top. 3 years for Werenski, $5 million annually. He's a restricted free agent at the end of his, so it's a $7 million final season for him. When Werenski signed this, there was a belief that this could be a template for other restricted free agent defensemen. McAvoy signs a contract very, very similar not too long after. So the only defenseman that's still out there, Carlo, I'm pretty sure is the only kind of big name defenseman that's still out there. So definitely when you look at Werenski, you look at McAvoy, those contracts are very, very similar. McAvoy gets the bigger bonus because Werenski didn't get one, and McAvoy has a bigger cap hit in year 3. So overall, McAvoy takes less money, but he's guaranteed to make more money come year 4. At least he likely makes more money in year 4. So that's kind of a creative way around it, and it's one of those things that, again, years down the road we'll look back at this and say, wow, that was great, or this team really didn't think ahead. Colin White's got 6 years at $4.75 million. And at the end of those 6 years, he would be an unrestricted free agent. $4.75 million is lowest on the board other than Pavel Zacha. So honestly, the Senators might be a team we look at a couple years down the road, looking at all these contracts and say, wow, they made a really smart move. So here's the question for you guys. Here's the challenge. When you look at these numbers, where do these guys fit in? So if you're Patrick Laine, are you taking a 3-year contract like Zacha, 4 years like Myers, 3 years McAvoy, 3 years Werenski? Are you taking a deal? And I think with Laine, I think it has to be 3. If it's 4, I'm pretty sure he'd be an unrestricted free agent with 7 years of experience. So are you taking a 3-year deal at less money where you get that big bump at the end to say $10 or $11 million a year, so you're guaranteed to get that money in year 4, or are you looking for a longer term? Rumor has been Winnipeg wants a longer term contract with him. He wants that bridge deal. And Connor, kind of the same thing. So it's going to be very interesting, and we'll see if any of these guys get signed and where they fit into this. So I guess part of the challenge too is which works better, signing the guys short term So he's still a restricted free agent at the end, but you may have to pay him big money, because then after that, you are paying to prevent him hitting unrestricted free agency. Or bite the bullet now, sign the guy long-term for a bigger cap hit so you don't have to worry about it in 3 years. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, because I'd be interested to know what you guys think is the wisest move to make here as a general manager. Because I'm telling you, somebody's going to lose their job over one of these contracts, and somebody's going to get great recognition and get called GM of the Year for moves they've made that are on this board. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support, and I'll talk to you again soon.